What's up, guys? This is Aaron with Spartacore Training. I am here with Brady, and you guys are going to hang out with us while we talk about everything and nothing. Brady?
What's up, guys? My name is Brady Green, and I'm an MMA fighter. I'm fighting out of Dragon House MMA in San Francisco, California. Currently have a record of 2-2. I'm on a 2-fight win streak here, and I'm here today to talk with Aaron just about fighting and whatnot.
Where did you start anyways with martial arts?
Like the first martial art I ever did.
Yeah, how did you get into it?
Well, I did karate actually for a few years when I was like 8.
Yeah.
And then I got all the way up to purple belt because my brother and I were doing it together, and then we both just kind of stopped doing it after a couple years. So after that, I didn't really do any more martial arts until high school, where I did a little wrestling. And I was never like a state champ or anything, but then when I was 20, I actually joined an MMA, like a real MMA gym, and actually started like seriously training.
Right.
So it started with karate when I was a really little kid, but just I didn't really get serious about it until I was about 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
21.
All right. So we've been going cranking hard for a little over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember back when we worked together, I knew you were a wrestler. I just didn't know how extensive that background was.
Yeah.
But, so what made you want to get started with fighting in general?
Well, when I was doing karate at a young age,
Yeah.
it was just like kind of for fun, because I was playing soccer too. I played soccer for like probably 10 or 11 years, and then I was doing karate too, and that was just kind of for fun. And then wrestling was also just kind of for fun. Like I just decided to try it, and I just liked it and wanted to get better at it. And then MMA, I actually didn't plan on doing it all, but when I was 20, one of my teammates, he's actually a world champ, his name's Brady Huang. So he worked at the Crunch in Daly City, and we just kind of knew each other. Like we took classes together in college. Right. And he just told me to come down and just try out a jiu-jitsu class with him one day. And then I met the coach. He's my coach, Zong Lo. He's the owner of Dragon House MMA.
Oh, okay. So this is at Dragon House where you did your first. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I just met the coach, and I told him I might want to try an MMA fight one day, and then that fight was actually a couple months after I had met him, and then I just kind of kept going from there. Like after my first fight, I didn't really look back.
How long after you started training was your first fight?
Well, I had like a little wrestling, some high school, little college wrestling. Yeah. So I had that to kind of fall back on, if I just almost get knocked out, just, shoot and hope for the best.
Right.
But I started seriously training like for MMA probably November of 2016. And then my first fight was January 6th of this year.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So almost a year.
Yeah. Short turnaround.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny though, is like the reason why I got into martial arts, I mean, I always wanted to as a kid, and my parents wouldn't let me. And but I think the main reason why I got into martial arts was actually because I was scared of fighting.
Oh, really?
It terrified me that I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I started doing martial arts, and that still didn't really resolve that. So that's when I decided I had to compete in jiu-jitsu. And that was the whole motivation, was like, I'm scared of this, so I'm going to go and fight so that I can try to not be scared of it, so I can understand it. I think that's a lot of guys' motivations, if they're really being honest, is they're actually uncomfortable with it, and they're trying to get comfortable with fighting in general.
Yeah, and a lot of like famous UFC fighters, or just any fighters at all, like a lot of them were like bullied back when they were kids.
Yeah, that's like the common story, is always like, I got picked on as small.
Yeah.
So you've had how many fights now?
I've had 4 fights.
4 fights.
Yeah. So I fought my first one in January, and then I fought again in April, and then I actually got my first win in October of this year, and then my second win on November of this year.
And when you were going into your first fight, what was your mindset like?
Honestly, I didn't really know like what to expect. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like it's so much different because I've competed in like wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and it was just nothing like that at all. Because those tournaments, like jiu-jitsu tournaments, you've done those before.
Yeah.
It's like there's like 20 different like matches going on at once, and
Right.
everybody's looking at something different. But in MMA, like all the lights are on you. Everybody's looking at just you two people.
Right.
And, like they bring all the attention to you, and so it just felt really different. So I didn't really know what to expect, and like I'd never been like really like punched in the face hard before that fight, and so yeah, I didn't really know what to like. I don't want to say I didn't know what I was doing, but I like looking back on it, I really didn't know what I was doing. You
can't know.
It's like if I could go into that same fight with the person I am now, like knowing the things I don't know, I feel like it would be way different.
Right. Yeah. And that first fight you lost?
I did, yeah. It was a close split decision.
When you say, knowing what you know now, if you went into that fight, how do you think that would change?
I mean, just like the way you like move around in the cage, because it's so much different than sparring. Like in sparring, you got headgear and boxing gloves, and you can just stand right in front of somebody and just keep swinging, and you'll both be okay. But in an MMA fight, you got those tiny gloves, and the only protection you really have is your mouth guard.
Right.
And just like you just have to kind of move different. You have to keep him at distance, but also be able to close the distance if you want to hit him. So just knowing that, I would just kind of know how to move better, because that's something I've worked on a lot, is just moving. And
if you can avoid getting punched in the face, that's probably normally a good thing.
My grappling's come a long way too.
Yeah.
And also just managing your time, because if you've never had a fight, you don't know like how it feels to go through the entirety of a whole fight, so you don't know how to like manage your energy.
Yeah.
And
the adrenaline dump is probably somewhat extreme.
Yeah. And I wasn't really thinking, like my first fight, I don't really remember what happened.
Yeah.
And not because I got hit, because I didn't really get hit too hard. Yeah. It's just like all the adrenaline, like you said, like my mind was just kind of blank.
Yeah, it's just a super intense situation, and you're just not prepared for it. How was it different, do you think, before the fight to how you felt about it afterwards?
I mean, before I was really confident going in, and I thought it would be a lot easier because I was so much bigger than him. It was at 155, and he was a little heavier, but my opponent was like 5'3".
Yeah.
And I'm like 5'9", 5'10", and I have pretty long arms, so I thought I was going to be able to stand 10 feet away and just fire off shots, but he was avoiding my shot or my strikes pretty well. And I was having such a hard time just closing the distance, and I was like, damn,
Yeah. Do you know how many fights he had up until then, or is that his first fight?
Well, that was his first fight in California, because for amateur MMA, most of the time it goes by state, because there's different not different rules, but it's just different commissions. So for California, it's called Camo, which you're a licensed coach for Camo.
I am.
Me too. So he hasn't had any California fights, but he could have gone up to like Reno or like Oregon,
Yeah.
So you really never know.
Because they don't actually, like, organizations don't talk state to state, really?
Nope. Yeah. For the most part.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because there's certain regulations, at least within CAMA, based on like, how long you have to wait till your next fight, right?
Yeah. And there's weird rules, like you have to use like the white gloves and shin pads.
Yeah.
And it depends how many fights you've had too. Like your first 3 fights, you have to have the shin pads, and it's 2-minute rounds. But after your 3rd fight, if you and your opponent have both had more than 3 fights, then the shin pads come off, and it's 3 3-minute rounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and not all states are like that. Like some states for amateur fights, they're 5 5-minute rounds or 3 5-minute rounds, just like a pro fight.
Yeah.
And some are like more strict in California.
Yeah.
Well, for amateurs, I don't know if this is nationwide or what, but there's actually like certain submissions that they won't let you do.
Really?
Like, the biggest thing is no knees and no elbows to the head in amateurs, and also you can't go for like heel hooks or like, I think like neck cranks either. So any like twisting submissions you can't do. So it's a little bit different, which it's kind of good because like you don't have to worry about being elbowed or kneed in the head, but at the same time, for anybody that wants to go pro, like you got to
use those tools.
Right, and not only that, but you don't want to get into bad habits that would put you in a position to be like kneed in the head. Like you could shoot for a takedown from like 3 feet away and not worried about getting kneed in the head. But if you do that in a pro fight, you know, you're gonna get knocked out. Yeah. So you don't want to fall into the habit of doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things about training is attempting to make it as true to what you're going to encounter without just beating the shit out of each other constantly, because you're not going to survive that. That's like where a lot of guys get punchy is from training. It's not from their actual fights.
Exactly.
Because you're spending way more hours in the gym than you are ever in a fight. So.
And there's certain fights where you might not even get hit at all. Like if you're against a really good grappler, he's not going to hit you. He's just going to try to take you down and choke you out. Right. And you know, brain damage doesn't really happen from getting your arm broken.
Yeah. That's true. We don't need to research that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. So what do you think your plans are for, how far do you want to take this?
I mean, if you would have asked me that a year ago, I would have said, just try out MMA, see if I like it, see how I do in amateur fights. But the more I progress through it, like the more I feel like I could actually do this as a career. So I guess my goal is to get into the UFC. Yeah. But if I get too beat up in there before that happens, I'll just figure something else out. But I mean, I'm still healthy, still young, so we'll just go as long as we can.
Yeah. Have you had any injuries at all from training?
Not really. From wrestling, I've like banged up my knee, stuff like that, but nothing that's put me out for a long time.
Yeah. I had my stupid, I don't know if you knew about it, my stupid foot injury.
When was that?
It was just a stupid training mistake.
Kickboxing. Yeah.
And I just ripped a bunch of shit apart in my foot, and it's still not the same. And it's my rear leg too. So every time I push off and
feel that jolt of pain all the way up your leg.
It's not too bad unless we're doing a ton of footwork.
Okay.
If we're doing tons of footwork drills, I start feeling it, and I almost have to flat foot sometimes instead of being up on the balls, and you can't. So I'm pretty sure my MMA career is screwed. I think jiu-jitsu's kind of where my love is right now for combat sports, though. Yeah. It's just the mental game of it, and it's kind of like chess. Yeah. But I still don't feel like I understand it at all.
Same.
Where are you at right now? White belt, blue belt? Yeah. And you said you're almost 2 years in?
For just straight up jiu-jitsu, a little over a year.
And is that gi or no gi or both?
Both. Okay. Well, I would say about a year of like consistent every single day training. Mm-hmm. But I've done a little jiu-jitsu. Like when I was 19, I learned from like wrestling people or just like people that I knew that knew jiu-jitsu. Like I would learn a little bit. Yeah. But I mean the wrestling helps a lot with jiu-jitsu too, just because it gives you a foundation. Yeah. But in terms of like consistent everyday training, about a year for jiu-jitsu. So I'll probably be a white belt for a while. Just see if I can win a world title. Yeah. And then maybe get promoted after that.
Yeah. Who is your school under?
Clovis Silva. So back in July, Zhonglo got his black belt under Clovis. Mm-hmm. And Clovis is a black belt under, I want to say, Carlson Gracie. Mm-hmm. And he's under Carlos Gracie.
So what else you got going on besides fighting and training?
That's pretty much it.
That's it? Yeah, that's life right now?
Just working out. Yeah. But, I mean, the only reason I work out is for, like, fighting. Right. Like, I was a really skinny kid before I started doing wrestling back in the day. Mm-hmm. And, like, that kind of gave me, like, a motivation to work out. Yeah. And that's when I really started, like, kind of just putting on some size and not being so scrawny.
I don't know. I think that the work ethic of a wrestler, if you start there, you're normally going to be pretty good when it comes to putting in work everywhere else. Yeah.
And wrestling, or not just wrestling, but like grappling in general makes you really strong.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I know some guys from jiu-jitsu, like they never wrestled or played football or lifted any weights. They just did gi jiu-jitsu like for 10 plus years. They're some of the strongest dudes I've ever met. Yeah. Just from all the gripping and pulling you do, like that's all you need, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I can muscle my way.
Yeah.
through some jiu-jitsu my limited technique, which is not always the greatest thing.
You're a blue belt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's better than like 99% of people on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Then your average. Yeah. No, I'm not in any hurry to go to up a belt.
Yeah.
Still trying to learn within my belt and just focus on training rather than trying to move up.
Oh, I feel that.
Yeah. So every time you get one of those new belts, it's pressure.
Mm-hmm.
More pressure.
More responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy how many levels there are to it. Like we got white belts in my gym that have been like going for a while, and I'll just tap them out all day. But there's white belts in my gym that'll just manhandle me like nothing. You know?
Right.
And then the blue belts, like 90% of the blue belts in my gym, they're like, if I'm here, they're like up here. It's just crazy, like how many levels to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And like that goes for all of combat sports, but like especially jiu-jitsu, because there's 5 different ranks, but within each rank, it's just crazy the
and
skill
it
gap.
depends on the school too.
Absolutely.
You know, some schools will hold people back for a lot longer than other schools will. So it's kind of, it's because it's up to the head coach.
Right.
You know, whether you're ready or not. And I think everybody feels a little bit differently about when somebody is ready.
Right. And there's no like set in stone like writing that says when someone's ready.
No. Yeah, it's kind of interesting though. Like, do you know what CSW is?
Mm-hmm.
Eric Paulson's. It's grappling. It's not. It's combination of catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
His is super defined.
Right.
It's all. If you're at this level, you should understand A, B, C, D.
Right.
And it spells it all out for you.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because then you then know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know that, but I am supposed to know that.
Right.
That's pretty cool in my opinion that it's all structured out like that so that you can have a good understanding of it.
Yeah, like some schools, they'll promote you, like, they find out you're a high school wrestler, oh, you can take down that blue belt, here's your blue belt, you know?
Yeah, when it's like, it's more about who won versus who actually has an understanding of it.
Yeah, and there's, like, style matters so much. Like, there's guys that, if person A will beat person, like, B, C, and D, another person will lose to B, C, and D, but beat person A, you know?
Which is kind of where the whole UFC thing came from was
what style works
if we took this fighter and pitted them together, who would win?
Exactly. Well, because before that, it was just boxer versus boxer, wrestler and wrestler, you know?
Yeah. I think the other interesting thing within jiu-jitsu, though, is you have full-on no-gi schools and you have combo schools and schools that are gi only.
Right.
But man, I've sparred with a couple of no-gi guys that, like, they come in a white belt and they just own you, and you're like, dude, you're not a white belt.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they don't do that kind of ranking system necessarily, depending on where it is. So, you know, technically in a gi, they're a white belt, but they're not.
Yeah.
Same with wrestling, though. If you have an amazing wrestler come into a jiu-jitsu class, he's going to be a hell of a lot better than a lot of your first-timers that have never done anything.
Yeah.
They have zero understanding about how to operate on the ground.
Especially in the white belt tournaments.
Yeah.
For like a guy that just got done, he just graduated college, he was a wrestler for the last 10 years.
Right.
Never taken a jiu-jitsu class, just take everybody down.
Right, just wreck through everybody, because half the time it's, you know, you play that stand-up game that nobody knows at a white belt level, so you just kind of shuffle around the mat.
Yeah.
But if you've got a serious wrestler in there, God, you're going to be on the ground in a couple seconds, and you're never going to get off the floor.
Yeah. Well, Naga actually, I'm not sure if it's just Naga, but a lot of like no-gi grappling tournaments, they'll look up like your wrestling background. Like I was in, the last time Naga was in San Jose, I registered for it was my first jiu-jitsu tournament. And so I signed up for there's like beginner and then like intermediate and advanced.
Yeah.
And beginner is for no-gi. And so beginner is supposed to be like white belts, and then intermediate is like purple and blue, and then advanced is brown and black, and I was wearing a wrestling sweatshirt, like a Skyline College wrestling sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And as I was signing up, weighing in, they're like, "Wait, you're a wrestler?" And I was like, "Shit," because I didn't even think that they were gonna look, but they're
right.
looking. And so they said, "Well, you can't do the beginner." And I was like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" So I thought they were gonna put me in the intermediate with the blues and purples. They put me in the advanced.
Oh, Jesus.
With the browns and blacks.
Yeah.
And so my first and only fight of that day, it was some dude who was like 6'2", 6'3", and he does like a weird roll and catches me in a heel hook right away in the first like 5 seconds of the match. I think he was a brown belt.
Yeah.
Who's the jiu-jitsu, or who's the gi under?
It's under John Jock Machado.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, so the whole...
So it's pretty legit then.
Yeah, it's a little bit legit. Yeah. I'm still supposed to go down to headquarters. I haven't been, but I need to go and learn from the legendary John Jock
Yeah.
and get crushed.
That's honestly the best way to get better. Like, that's one of the biggest things I
Training
learned.
people better than you.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I learned in wrestling. Like, I used to train at Stanford. Like, I never went to Stanford or anything, but I used to train. And sometimes it was like a club, like a wrestling club. Sometimes their guys would come out and they would just beat the crap out of like everybody. And like at first it's like really frustrating, but then I realized like do that for a year and then come back and you're just all of a sudden good.
Yeah, well, you're either good or you quit.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and like the same way, I think that's even more true with jiu-jitsu, because like you go with like a blue belt, you get tapped out a bunch of times, then you start doing what the blue belts do to you, you do it on the white belts, and then.
Yeah, I mean that's always like the conversation is, as you get higher in rank, a lot of people will talk trash about the white belts, but
but they were white belts too.
That and the white belts serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Because if you're a blue belt, like you ain't tapping too many purple belts, and definitely not any browns unless you get really lucky and they pretty much let you do it. The white belt helps you because you can actually attempt to do your crappy version of a move on them, and it helps them too because you're still at a better skill level. So I don't know. It's
because you get better, getting beat up by people better than you, and then you sharpen your skills then going on somebody that you can actually do your moves on.
Yeah, then you transfer it down, and everything's slow enough, and they don't have as much of an awareness so that you can actually pull off a move. Like that's like one of the most frustrating things is when if you were to only train with guys that are way better than you, like unless they let you, you're not pulling off a move.
Yeah.
But they still sharpen your skills in all the other ways when they stop you and teach you, and they're like, dude, this is what I did. This is how I kicked your ass. And this is what you need to do to stop it, And then you take that and go over and you train with white belts and you refine it there, and then you go back and try it again.
And then those white belts eventually become blue belts. And then the new white belts come in, those blue belts tap out those white belts.
Yeah.
The circle continues.
It's a cool game, though.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's weird. Like, the guys that you're, like, more cool with, like, the more hard you're willing to go with them, because they'll be cool with it. But if it's a guy that like you just met, you don't want to like go super hard on him.
No.
Like, what if he gets pissed off and like I don't want to piss off some dude that I just met like 2 days ago,
Yeah.
But if it's a guy I've been training with for like 2 years, like I'm gonna try my best to like beat him up, And I know he'll be cool with it.
Yeah, and you have no idea what energy they're gonna give you
exactly
when you first meet somebody.
Like a lot of people, like when they don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, like. It does look super weird if you've never seen jiu-jitsu, because you're like, it's two dudes. One of them's on his back with his legs spread apart. The other dude's like inside of his legs.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you're looking at, it's like, what the hell am I looking at? But if you know like jiu-jitsu, it's like, oh, okay, full guard.
Yeah. No, it's funny that when the way I started jiu-jitsu was, my original school that I was training at merged with the current school at PSD.
Okay. What was your original school?
It was called NorCal JKD. And so it was mainly a stand-up school, but that is actually where CSW came from.
Okay.
The Eric Paulson stuff.
Right.
But so they merge, and I come over, and I hadn't really done. I think I did like one ground class over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I come over here and I was like, well, I might as well just do everything because they're offering everything, so I might as well do it all. But like, I didn't try a jiu-jitsu class for a while because I would just like go out and I'm like, that's kind of weird looking.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, wrestling especially, you're wearing the tight little singlets.
Yeah.
That's what turns a lot of people off of wrestling, honestly, because there's a lot of guys that I went to like high school and college with, and they're always talking about like, oh man, I was thinking about wrestling, and I asked them, well, why didn't you? The number one answer, I didn't want to wear those singlets.
Yeah, right.
And
do you know what the reason is behind the singlet?
Just because it's been around forever.
Yeah.
But they're actually starting to get rid of them.
Because like weightlifting does the singlet too.
Right, and rowing too.
And I've never understood what the point of the singlet is. Is
ballet.
it like better performance, or is it just because that's what they always did?
I mean, I'm sure back in the day, like the 30s, 40s, 50s, whenever it first like came about, it was probably the best thing they had at the time, and they just stuck with it.
Yeah, like this is totally athletic gear, guys. It's got to be tight.
Yeah.
And
I don't
shiny.
really know, though. That's a good question, because if you go to like no-gi jiu-jitsu tournaments, I think that's the best setup is the long compression pants and the rash guards.
Yeah, for sure.
Because skin diseases, that's a huge problem in wrestling, like ringworm and staph.
Yeah.
Because most of your body, minus like here and
right.
part of your legs are exposed, but like jiu-jitsu, you're fully covered.
Yeah.
Your face and like your feet are pretty much the only things uncovered. And I've never gotten a skin like anything from jiu-jitsu, but I've had ringworm like a lot of times in wrestling.
Right, in wrestling.
Because you're so exposed,
Yeah, I think that's part of the culture though too. With jiu-jitsu is cleanliness.
Right.
Is a huge piece of
Well, wrestling too, you're wearing shoes.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference. You're walking around on the mat and your face is getting shoved where somebody just stepped down and you don't know what they're stepping in.
Yeah.
And wrestling coaches make you go run back and forth between the mat and the track outside.
Oh, really? I didn't know that they use the wrestling shoes off the mat.
Oh yeah, we do. Because like it takes a while to lace them up.
Yeah, that's true. So if you're in the middle of training, why would you take them off?
Yeah.
It's funny when like it goes in martial arts, it goes in business, and goes in everything. It's like people are so quick to go, I'm not good at that. And I'm gonna try, kickboxing. I'm not good at it. And it's like, yeah, of course you're not good at it. You just started.
Yeah,
you tried like 5 classes, and you're expecting to be an expert. That's not how it works. Like you're gonna suck when you start.
Yeah, that's
and
like
then
anything. Honestly.
If you work your ass off, you might get good.
You might.
It's just always been my mentality is like you've got to put work into it if you want it to be good. Otherwise, then just don't do it because it's gonna suck.
Yeah. Well, that's such a relative term too.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Like if you're good at jiu-jitsu, like there's some like 90% of people who do jiu-jitsu, like especially like brown belt and under.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee you, there's like a ton of people that could just totally like destroy them.
Yeah. There's somebody out there
belts,
that's gonna wreck your world.
And like, how good are you really? Like, I think for a white belt, I'm okay. Like my 2 fights ago, my fight in October that I won, I fought a blue belt.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning, I caught him in like the nastiest triangle, and he found a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I thought I had a good triangle, and I locked it in.
Yeah.
But like on him, it didn't work. On somebody else, it would have worked.
Yeah.
But on him, it didn't work. And then his fight before that, I was talking to him after, he got tapped out by like another blue belt. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm a pretty mediocre blue belt. I feel like right now, like I'm still just trying to understand the game. Yeah. And hopefully one day it becomes clear. How often are you training?
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
And then usually Saturday or Sunday I'll just lift.
And is that like stand-up class and ground game? Do they combine it, or what's the structure like?
So usually Monday we'll do gi jiu-jitsu, then wrestle. So 2 classes, and then Tuesdays we'll just do no-gi. Yeah. And then Wednesdays we'll do no-gi and then wrestling, or no-gi and then stand-up. And then Wednesday we'll do gi and stand-up, and then Thursday no-gi and stand-up. And then Friday, it really depends. Yeah. Sometimes we'll do stuff on Saturdays if nobody has a fight coming up. Yeah. But we usually get like a pretty good balance. Yeah. So jiu-jitsu is kind of my main focus. Right. Just because I think that's there's like more to learn in jiu-jitsu, you know? Because like
Yeah.
if you go to Muay Thai or whatever, you'll learn like everything you need to know in like 6 months.
Right.
You learn like,
And then
all
you
this-
just, it's a matter of
just
refining
sharpen
it
exactly.
over and over
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
But like jiu-jitsu, like I feel like I could learn something new every day for the next 10 years and still not even be close. You
Yeah.
know? Like that's
Yeah.
like people don't get like how like
That's
Crazy.
part of the draw and part of
what turns people away.
what turns people
Yeah.
away from it. Yeah, is that okay, you're going to do this thing and it could take you 15 years to even come close to somewhat mastering.
Right. Yeah.
But you're not going to be anywhere near the best.
Yeah.
And that journey, like, if somebody had told me that when I started, like, hey, you're going to suck for forever. And it's going to be really frustrating for a really long time. And you're not just going to, like, magic athletic your way through this thing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I would have started or
Yeah.
not. I'm kind of glad I didn't know.
Well, I think that's kind of like with the wrestling. Like I already got over that. Like I lived through that already. Like because when I started wrestling, I didn't know like how hard of a sport it was and like the work that it took to be good.
Yeah.
And like I went through it already. So when I started doing MMA, like I knew right off the bat, like I'm gonna have like a ton of work to do.
Yeah.
And like I saw right away, like after my first fight, after like my first time sparring or rolling with like the blue belts, I was like, damn, like I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And even if I'll, like my last fight that I won by submission. The one before that I won by decision. Like I still felt like I just had so much to work on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to what I was saying before about, like, you know, I didn't really want to try jiu-jitsu because it was kind of this weird thing.
Right.
When I finally tried it out and I got my ass kicked horribly,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I have to understand this or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Like, these guys can basically tell me exactly what they're about to do to me, and they could have even told me how to defend it if I had been able to understand it, and they still could do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the perfect example, the perfect way I've ever heard it said is, it's like jumping in the ocean without knowing how to swim.
Yeah.
Like, you can flail your arms all you want, you're going straight to the
You're
bottom.
gonna go to the bottom. Well, I like what you said though about how like you felt like if you don't know it, like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like that's so true. But like at the same time, like say you get in a fight like on the street or something, like there's a 99% chance you're gonna like choke him out, you know, because he's not gonna know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But there's always that off chance of like, what if he's like a black belt, like world champion jiu-jitsu? Like
That's why I think that's why a lot of martial arts guys don't get in fights, because they know, number one, they know the risk involved, and they know how severe things can get, how really fast.
Yeah.
And they also know there's always a dude that is way badder than you are walking around out there.
Yeah.
And you're,
But who is he? You don't know who he is.
he could look like your average Joe and just be a total badass and destroy you.
Yeah.
And so
You just
martial
never
arts
know.
guys are almost always the last guy to get in a
street fight,
confrontation. Yeah.
And you can kind of tell too, like you see like street fight videos like online all the time.
Yeah.
And, like almost every single one of them is two guys like
Just
doing that,
swinging.
and then one of them gets lucky and like walks into, you know.
Yeah.
But like you can tell like they don't know how to fight.
Yeah.
And then like if you read the comments, there's always that one guy that knows martial arts breaking it down.
Yeah.
Like it's just funny. Like those are the guys that are watching the videos,
Yeah.
not like in the videos. You know?
Yeah. But the hilarious part of that too is, you know, that mentality of like, you know, guys that have never been in a fight, they always have this thing like, oh, you know, I'll just handle business. I'll see red and then I'll just kick his ass and it's
Yeah.
gonna be, you know, you don't want to mess with me. It's like, really, bro?
It's like jiu-jitsu wouldn't work on me.
You're like, you've never
Don't know what you're doing.
been on the mats, have you?
Yeah.
You've never actually tried this stuff out.
Yeah. And like they just say like, oh, the reason I don't do MMA is because I don't want to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't want to hurt somebody, just take them down, choke them out, let them
Yeah.
tap out. You're not hurting them.
Yeah, that's my
like,
other
jiu-jitsu
favorite.
doesn't work.
I'm afraid I'm gonna go too hard
Mhm.
if I train. It's like, dude, go train and see how long that works for you.
Yeah. That was my favorite thing in high school. The guys that said, "Oh, I don't do wrestling. It's kind of gay."
Yeah.
It's like train for a week, you would quit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, to be purely honest, that was kind of my ideas of grappling were like, it was just this weird thing I didn't understand. So I was like, man, I'm not gonna do that. And you know, it'd always be like, I had a couple buddies that wrestled, and I'd be like, yeah, you're going to go do your advanced cuddling now? They're like, shut up, man, it's not funny. Wrestling in the U.S. has been so much more prevalent for so much longer as part of the culture.
Right.
And back when I was in high school, nobody was talking about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
wrestling only, but it was like this
Wrestling and like kickboxing.
Yeah, but if you're not in it, it was this weird thing. You're like, yeah, that guy's a wrestler. It's weird.
Yeah, that's kind of how people knew me. Like, just like whenever wrestling came up, they'd be like, "Oh, Brady, that's you," you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you're kind of known like as the wrestling guy.
Yeah, but you don't think about that. If you don't understand that skill, you don't really think about wrestling as being a combat art.
Right.
But it is.
It is, yeah.
It's a piece of it.
And it especially becomes one like once it ties into MMA.
Yeah.
Because like in competitive wrestling, it's all about scoring points.
Right.
But in MMA, like it doesn't. You're not trying to like put him on his back and like pin him. You know.
Right.
It's just so like, do you want to stand up with him or do you want the fight to go to the ground?
Right.
That's why it's one of the most important skills to have is wrestling.
Right.
Because like if you go against some like elite like striker, you don't want to stand up with him.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that closing the gap between stand up and ground is where a lot of people miss.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you came from a wrestling background and you already had it.
Right.
How many guys hate doing takedowns because they don't want to hit the mat?
Yeah.
And so everybody starts on their knees, which that's important for longevity in a lot of ways.
Right.
And
your knees
especially if you have a commercial gym, you don't want your people getting hurt all the time and getting slammed and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like I said, I feel like that's an art that gets missed.
Yeah.
A lot of guys think I have my stand up, or I have my jiu-jitsu, or I have jiu-jitsu and then there's my stand up. But like, what's in between?
Yeah. Like
the clinch and the takedown and takedown defense and all that stuff is
right. Like look at Damian Maia when he fought Tyron Woodley. Like Woodley's a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
Damian Maia is probably the best jiu-jitsu guy in the UFC, like hands down.
Right.
Like no one even like some people come close, but like most people like will never have jiu-jitsu as good as Damian Maia.
Right.
But he couldn't use it on Tyron Woodley because his wrestling's so good.
Right.
You know, if you can't take somebody down, that's such a demanding thing to be a part of, though, dude. Like if you're not like, if you got like other stuff that you want to like dedicate yourself to, like
you're not gonna do it. Like pick one. Yeah.
MMA, girlfriend, hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or school, you know. Like you gotta be all in, you know.
Yeah, there's zero room for other stuff. That's like this place. That's a huge thing about this is like there's the gym running the business. There's me getting better at training.
Yeah. And
then like all this social media type stuff is a totally separate business.
Right.
It's completely different skill set and it's way more time consuming than most people think.
No.
Most people are like, yeah, I'm gonna jump on YouTube, I'm gonna do a couple of videos, it's gonna be great, I'm gonna make lots of money, and you're like, have you actually tried it? I mean, have you spent the time to edit a video and promote it and do all this stuff? It takes some freaking time.
Yeah.
There's the reason why people like have somebody else manage it.
Yeah.
A lot of people just like go and grab an intern, and the intern's actually doing all the photo shoot.
Right.
They're actually holding the camera and editing and promoting and all that Instagram stuff. A lot of guys have somebody doing their Instagram feed for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, it
looks hard, dude.
It's time consuming. Like, how do you post a actually worthwhile picture every day, multiple times a day? That's not the same shit.
Yeah.
That somebody's been, like, drives me nuts, those people that, they'll, like, post a picture, and it's, like, a picture of themselves in the same pose that they posed it a million times before.
Yeah.
And they're expecting that some people are going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's like same mirror, You got your shoulder cocked the same exact way, and you just post that same thing
the same
every single day.
Yeah.
God,
Oh, I definitely know people like that.
Yeah, and so that's the hard part about it is like, if you don't want to do that, you're gonna have to be creative.
You gotta be creative with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta mix it up.
And that's when you start like losing your mind and dressing up in Star Wars costumes and doing weird shit. All right, so you're 2 and 2, training basically every day, just turning it into a lifestyle. What fights do you have coming up? What's on the horizon for you?
Right now, I have a fight coming up on January 27th. I'm not sure who I'm fighting, but then after that, I should be fighting again in the city in March.
Cool.
But no idea who I'm fighting, but I'll take anybody to give me.
I get tickets, right?
You do.
Sweet.
They're $50 for you itself. $49.95.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So keep this guy on your radar. We're expecting big things from him in the future. And for now, that is all I got for you. We are out.